Abolish the monarchy. Dystopia warning, obviously. Hi, it's me again. I'm not going to butter your bum. Things are bad, and I'm here to tell you why. Have you ever tried to explain how bad Britain is to someone that's from another normal country? Not easy, is it? It's hard enough trying to explain to people from Britain how their reverence for a royal family is them contributing to their own profound inequality. Or how our prime ministers are just, you know, built in some kind of like dysfunctional private school factory and just like rolled out on conveyor belts, coming from a life of immense privilege and status, you know, thinking they can make decisions for us. They need to be backed up in whatever mad scheme that they concoct by their mates in the fields of journalism, which is no longer really a free press, is it? In fact, we've got amongst the worst press freedom results in the world. Anyway, as you might well be aware, this relationship between, you know, the royals, the conservatives and the press has taken a mad turn over the last week. Why? Well, it's got something to do with the king's piss bag, sausage fingers and his prostate. Rolling coverage, which in the case of the Daily Mail verged on the hysterical. Let's pray that they're both okay, said the Daily Mail, regarding relatively minor surgery. I'll level with you, I don't want the king to die because I don't want to end up in another situation where there's a media blackout for a month and we're forced to just watch, you know, a royal hearse being tracked across the country like it's a fucking Deliveroo order. This isn't normal. When the king's arsehole was trending, I thought people were referring to Camilla. I still can't believe that they're trying to call her the Queen. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? All you have to do to become Queen is essentially stoop the king for enough years behind his wife's back and, you know, you get elevated to that status. And they claim to be a moral guide for the people of Britain. Anyway, back to this. Let's pray they'll both be okay. Well, they're very likely to be, aren't they? Because they're receiving top-tier private medical care. They're being treated with dignity behind closed doors with no waiting lists, no sitting in the corridors or on the floors of war-zone NHS hospitals. They get bed rest for 2 weeks when the rest of us get turfed out of a hospital after we've been able to urinate after an operation. The people that aren't okay are the rest of us. The waiting list for people requiring NHS treatment in Britain has hit nearly 8 million and has been described as a national tragedy. In 2022, 120,000 people died on NHS waiting lists. That's double the patients in the year 2017 to 2018. Why? Due to a decade of underinvestment, mostly. Something that little Rishi Sunak blames on striking workers. Whilst in Winchester last week, he got heckled. But one of the most notable clips was a woman who used to work for the NHS approaching him to talk to him about the state of things.
It just shows that when there aren't strikes, we really can make progress. So we didn't last year because of all the strikes, but
you
hopefully...
could stop it all. You could make it all go back to how it used to be, where we had, not literally,
no, yeah.
but where we had, if you had a problem, you could go to the hospital.
Why can't things just go back to the way they were? Yeah, exactly. What, under Labour? When everything worked. Kind of sounds like she wants things to go back to square one, Rishi.
My daughter
spent
7 hours waiting.
The gall of him to laugh theatrically and then walk away as she starts to talk about her daughter waiting for an excessive period of time in a hospital shows the absolute contempt that these born-to-rule pony fuckers have for the rest of us. We're not in this situation due to strikes. The people forced to work in war-zone conditions for peanuts are a symptom of the problem, not the cause. People that are forced to live in poverty get ill. The cost of living crisis, caused and exacerbated by this government's ideological priorities, is causing people to die and get sick at alarming rates. A rise in malnutrition has caused Victorian-era diseases like scurvy and rickets to be on the rise. Out of control inflation, increase in food prices, these people not receiving any real support from the government. Quite the contrary, they're being punished, demonised, dehumanised and blamed by a government that's put them in that situation in the first place. They allowed unchecked profiteering and fraud during a pandemic in which millions of us died. Now they're claiming to try and claw some of that back by taking away the prescriptions of those that they say are not seeking work. Never mind that the waiting list's over 8 million, that an estimated 500 people per week are dying waiting for treatment. There's also no mental health support. In fact, they're cutting vital suicide prevention services. This is just pure performative cruelty, ideological immorality. It's a government punching us repeatedly in the face and then blaming us for having a bloody nose and a black eye. That's also something that a few Tory MPs have actually done, you know, to their spouses, but, you know, super injunctions. But yeah, pray for the symbol of white supremacy, and you think that that's hyperbole, but no, they actually believe they're superior to us based on their bloodline. Pray for the perpetrators of inequality and wealth disparity, whose very existence is gold-plated. People dress them, for Christ's sake, and they fight tooth and nail to maintain that position. An existence that requires us to be subjects to them, to bow to them. Fuck off. This government can't or refuses to pay nurses and doctors working in war zone conditions in hospitals, but they can stump up £8 million so that every public service, which is basically facing their roofs caving in due to rack, can have a free picture of the king. This is North Korea style insanity. There'll be a nice portrait of him, guilt framed, uplit, that you can look at whilst you're waiting for 12 hours in A&E. The portrait might take your mind off that cancer diagnosis that's advanced a couple of stages because your operation's been repeatedly cancelled. 54,532 people waited over 12 hours for an A&E admission in December. Bed blocking is contributing to the problem because there's no social care system. People are lying on the floors and in corridors. People are dying before they get to A&E. There's a 90-minute wait time for a heart attack or a stroke. This is a catastrophic failure, one of many catastrophic failures. There are people in Britain on chemotherapy using food banks. And they talk about Catherine having 2 weeks bed rest after her droid wife software update, presumably. Whilst the rest of us are terrified of needing an ambulance or A&E. We're pulling our own teeth out. We're getting scurvy and rickets, and there's still a shocking proportion of people willing to vote for that shower that's currently in power. They revere this lot who dress in designer clothes to go to food banks for photo opportunities. Meanwhile, this squatter focuses solely on the Rwanda scheme and demonising and dehumanising refugees and asylum seekers. I wonder why. Could it be to distract you from everything that I've just told you about? Yeah, something like that. Blame the foreigner, don't look at us. Feel sorry for the richest landowners in Britain, but not yourself. Defend this bizarre, outdated historical concept at all costs, but don't question why. Because we're British. Frankly, I have no respect for royalists, because they have no respect for themselves. And I have no respect for anyone still willing to vote for the BNP in Prada suits. It's 2024, for fuck's sake. We have all the information that we could possibly want at our fingertips. Find it, instead of gobbling up rhetoric served to you by rich people trying to preserve their riches, whilst we can't afford to live or die. That's supposed to be a Britain to be proud of, is it?